In one of my recent videos, I asked the question, have you ever met someone that swore they knew you, but you couldn't remember who they were? Well, the responses to that question were so interesting, so creepy, and so entertaining, I had to make a video about them. Last winter, I met a girl at a bar I used to frequent in my town, and throughout the night, we became friends, chatting and smoking on the patio. Well, the end of the night came, and we went to exchange numbers, and I went to put my number in her phone, but when I started typing it in, my number was already there in her contacts, along with my name, even spelled correctly, as if I had put it in there myself, because no one ever spells my name right. When I showed her, we both freaked out because neither of us could remember meeting each other before that night. In fact, the girl had never been to that bar before that night. Her and I thought about it for a long while, but it made no sense. At that point, I had only had that phone number for a few months. How could my name and number have gotten in her phone, but yet I forgot? I haven't had more than a few beers at a time since I was in school, so I know that there's no way that we could have somehow met in a drunken blackout, exchanged numbers, and then collectively forgotten each other only to re-meet and not remember. To this day, I still have no idea how my name and number got there. About 10 years ago, a girl contacted me on Facebook. Started rattling off memories of us being best friends, slumber parties around 4th grade, etc. She asked by name how my parents were, and she asked about the house that I grew up in around the corner from her. Now get this, we have been Facebook friends for over 10 years, and I still have no memory of who she is. I went to a new school district during high school. At one point, I was invited to go to a homecoming game at the school I would have attended if I had not been transferred. A friend of mine invited me so we could go see some old friends. In front of us was a guy sitting with his friends. He turned around and he gave me a big hug and started talking to me. I had no idea who he was. He kept going on and on about how we dated in middle school, and his friends talked about the times that we hung out in school. He not only knew me by name, but he also knew my mother's name. By the end of it, I had to say, "Sorry, I don't know who you are." He got so offended that he walked away. Maybe he thought I was being stuck up, but I seriously couldn't remember him at all, or anything he was talking about. I still feel bad about it. A long time ago, when Papa Murphy's was called Papa Aldo's, I walked into the store. Side note, I had to look this up, and apparently it's a pizza place. Now you know if you didn't know. Anyway, I had never been there before. And when I walked in, the lady behind the counter greeted me very warmly, like we were friends. But then she knew my name, and asked if I was there for the regular. I have never seen this woman before. She asked about how my family was, and knew all their names as well. I freaked out. I told the lady, "I'm sorry, I don't know who you are." I had never seen her before. She tried to tell me that we met at a bar, danced, and had a great night. We talked for hours. But here's the thing, I don't drink, and I've never been to a bar in my life. I was so spooked by the encounter, I left without ordering and never went back. There was someone on Snapchat who started messaging me, saying that they knew me. They knew information that only a friend of mine would know. Then they started sending me nudes. I still don't know who they were. Side note, I hope you did not respond with nudes because that sounds like a friend of yours was trying to catfish you. I had a weird experience a while back when I was out running errands. This guy came up to me at a store, called me by name, and asked how I was. I apologized and said I didn't remember him. He said we went to high school together, told me his name, and even told me some of the classes and teachers that we had together. I pretended to remember him and we chatted for a little more. Eventually I left, and later I checked my old yearbooks for this guy and couldn't find him anywhere. In any of them. This guy did not go to high school with me. I still don't know who he was or how he knew so much about me. This thing creeped me out so much, it has stuck with me ever since. I've been approached quite a few times by people that would swear up and down that they knew me. One of them knew my name and knew me from church. The scary part about it is, I didn't recognize him, he didn't look familiar, and I didn't go to church. Adding to that, I've had 4 separate occasions where someone came up to me, swore they knew me, and told me that my name was Jeff or Jeffrey. But that's not my name. One said he knew me from school. I haven't been to school in 30 years. 2 of them said they knew me from work, and one I couldn't remember. But he knew my name was Jeff. Again, my name is not Jeff. Who are you people? Went to the store once, and a woman called me by name and asked how my parents were. Even called them by name, and asked if I was still working at my old job. She even knew the name of the place, and then asked about my baby. At the time, I was only 14 weeks pregnant. I have no idea who she was, and she didn't look the slightest bit familiar. So someone else in the comments asked, maybe she knew your parents. Well, she replied with this. I thought the same thing, so I told my mom about it and described the woman, and my mom had no idea either. So I was at a restaurant, and a man came over to my table, called me by name, and then he said, sorry to hear about your daughter. Now, I have 2 daughters, but they're both okay, and I've never seen this man before. I worked in retail for 4 years until recently, specializing in customer service and sales team management at a specialty store. One day I was running the front end and a customer came in, who came through my line and lit up like a Christmas tree and exclaimed, "It is you! Hi, name. How have you been? I haven't seen you in forever." She called me by my family name, not the name on my name tag, which is different. Only people who know me call me by my family name. "I really miss you down at the recycling center. I don't have you to take all my cans and bottles anymore." I apologize and inform her she must have mistaken me for someone else because I've never worked at a recycling center. I've been here 4 years. Before this, I was an IT client for 2 years. No, I think you were the one who's mistaken. You work there. You're just not remembering right. I saw you there every Friday. I'm sorry, ma'am. I've never worked at a recycling center. Oh, I see what you're doing. You and I both know you worked there, but you want to pretend that you didn't. That's okay. We can pretend. With the transaction complete, she takes her purchase and leaves. I swear I've never worked at a recycling center, and that was the first and last time I ever saw the recycling lady. Enjoying these so far? Well, this last story is a little bit different, but it's one of my favorites. Many years ago, when I first started dating my ex-boyfriend, I remember seeing a picture of him holding a cute little blonde boy about 2 years old in his right arm. The little boy was dressed in blue and had a blue baseball cap on. I asked him who the little boy was. He said it was his son who lives in another state with his ex-girlfriend. I was surprised because we'd been seeing each other for over a week and he had never mentioned a child. Cut to a few days later. I asked him about his son, and he looks at me like I'm crazy and says, "I don't have children." So I go to where the picture was, and it's no longer there. There's no picture. I was so confused about it, I didn't say anything more at the time. Well, cut to 3 years later, and we're having a big get-together with friends and family. I'm walking around and taking photos to preserve memories, and I aim my camera at my ex. He was holding our 2-year-old son, and I took a photo. Now get this. It was exactly the photo that I saw. The sunlight, the trees, the blue clothing, the blonde hair, everything. As I mentioned earlier, we're exes now, and my now teenage son lives with me. This is one of the strangest experiences I've ever had in my entire life.